Welcome back to my channel, The Lemonade Stand, where I just do things. Today, you see all these books and all these books over here. I'm going to show you all the books that I've hauled since December, most of them in January, but kind of since December. Because this year, I'm trying to read more books that are relevant to me in my life, more culturally responsive, I guess. Or there's a new term for it. Culturally sustaining, because for the past year and a half, I guess, I've been working on grad school stuff and only been reading all my assigned texts, but some of them don't speak to me, so I spent all my money on these right here. So I'm gonna start with this journal right here that I got called Book Lover's Journal. I wanted to set a reading goal for myself this year because I guess for the past couple of years I haven't, and I have gotten behind. Let me give a little bit of context first, actually. So the Lemonade Stand is a project that I thought of, I guess, back in 2016 when I graduated college, because my undergraduate thesis was about bridging generational gaps in Black feminism in Beyonce's self-titled visual album. So that was a lot of fun, but because I was limited on time, I didn't get to write about everything in the album. And then Lemonade came out right after I finished that thesis, and I thought, I really want to write about Lemonade. So I set out to do that year, but then I saw that somebody compiled all of these suggestions for the Lemonade syllabus, which is like all these books, movies, and stuff like that people had suggested helps with reading Beyonce's Lemonade. So I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna then work my way through the syllabus, and then everything I read, I'll give a review of whatever, and then I'll make some blog posts, you know, if any of them like really speak to me or pertain to some aspect of my life. And it's kind of grown since then. It's turned into this YouTube channel and stuff like that. So now, reading those books, I've started reading all these other books as well. And so I thought that I would actually document that in the Book Lover's Journal, because I'm quite organized with how I've set up my reviews, or quite unorganized with how I've set up my reviews before, and they're in all these different places like Google Docs and notes and stuff like that. So I thought that I would get this. It's pretty cool. So you have in the contents, you have a book log, like what you've read, and then where you can write your opinions and stuff like that. A section for books you'd like to read, a log of all your books, so books that you've bought, books that you've borrowed, books that you've lent, all of that. If you're in a book club, it has a section for that. And then the author of this has given a section on acclaimed authors and books to give you ideas for what you might read. The back is called My Reading Life, which I haven't even looked at that section yet to see what it's about, but whatever. So anyway, in the main section of the book where you write your reviews, you can talk about when you read the book and where you read it. So it's kind of like, this is really cool because it's kind of like a diary, I guess. How you discovered this book or got it, like if somebody gave it to you, noteworthy experiences while reading this book, and then a scale, which I like. The type A in me is just screaming for the scale, whether you recommend this book or not and to whom, and then kind of a free-flowing section of other thoughts and opinions you'd like to add, and then some star ratings. So this is great because this is how I set up my review post. My son just threw down his bottle. This is how I set up my review post on my blog. So I'm starting there. So the next book I have is called 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die. Really, really helpful. I thought that I would get this because there was a book that I really wanted to read, and there were all these differing critical reviews of the books, and I felt that some of them kind of left out some important aspects of feminism that probably needed to be discussed. And I haven't read the book, but I know the subject matter, and I thought some of these reviews don't seem to really be touching on all of the subject matter that I know is included in this book. So after reading some other reviews, I found that this book is a really helpful guide And it kind of gives you, so let's see. Okay, yeah, right here is about the Wizard of Oz. So it talks about the book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, but then it also talks about, it gives a little summary, the time period and everything like that. It also gives you suggestions for like special editions that you should read, and then tells you a little bit about the cultural context of the book, like if it was turned into a film and the reception of the book and its supplementary films or whatnot. And so this is really helpful because some books that I think are like typically upheld by the male Eurocentric community, I feel is challenged a little bit in some of these summaries and everything. And so that's why I wanted to get this, because then it'll help direct my book buying in the future, I guess. Excuse my lip gloss stain on this mug. This is Fenty Glow. So another book I have to guide my reading is Well Read Black Girl, which is a compilation of book recommendations and also people's, like, other famous authors' opinions of books and other authors. So this is really helpful. And also something that I didn't notice at first is that somebody I went to school with is also in this book, Morgan Jerkins. So of course, when I was looking through the contents of this in the bookstore and I saw this, of course I bought it, because I read her first book and loved it, and also she's really cool. So you'll see in the book it's basically an author, and then they're talking about a work that's impactful to them, or an author that's impactful towards them. I like that you are able to get writing from the authors in this book and also get recommendations about authors that they like. And then there's some lists in here too, you can see. So that's really helpful for book buying as well. And then I like that I got this book to be in conversation with the 1000 Books to Read Before You Die. So that's good. And then of course at the back it has a whole list of all the books that are mentioned in this one. So that's helpful too. It's just like a ready-made list. So moving on. Oh, also, let me show you this. I got this bookmark from this place called the Lit Bar, which is a bookstore in the Bronx. I love that store. I mean, I read about it in articles and stuff like that, and it's when I went in there, it was just like the most magical place I've been the whole year. It's small. It's run by Black women, and the store is just kind of set up in sections that really make sense for my brain as a Black woman. So like there's a section for children's stuff, but like astrology for children, and then, you know, social justice and activism, and then even like the little, when you go in there, the way that the genres are written is it just makes a lot of sense. Like I can't remember how exactly they have written like the mysteries and I remember for the thrillers and mystery section, it's like this is thriller, and like I don't know, I know that's a small thing, but it's just the way that the store is just kind of like communicating with you. And even online they have all of these curated lists, which were super helpful. So I went on there first. You can buy the books online, so I went on there first and then looked at their list and pulled from those and made a list on my iPad, and then went in there and then knew exactly what I was going to get. And even the covers that they have make a lot of sense for different aesthetics for Black women. So that's another thing I really liked about that. And I think I'm going to go back in there and buy some of the classics that they have, because their classics have just really like interesting, fun kind of covers. Like the edition of The Color Purple that they have is just so beautiful. Probably to my husband's dismay, I'm gonna go back in there and spend more money. But anyway, it's called Lit Bar, and apparently they are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. But you can go to thelitbar.com and see their curated list, and then shop online as well. But when I went in there, I just decided, you know what, I'm probably not even buying books from Amazon anymore. I mean, I know I already should have been off Amazon And I'm sorry, I'm trying to like over time like wean myself off of it, because there's so many like specialty items that they have that you can get all at once. But it's worth it to me, the trouble of finding different items at different stores and buying them locally, and especially black owned, and especially black woman owned. So from now on, I'll probably get my books exclusively from them. So now let's get into the actual books that I got from the Book Bar. Okay, he tired of me. You want to get him now?
I'd be tired of you too.
Body yada 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 yada. So my mom told me this really interesting story that I kind of remember, but didn't remember all the details. So all I remember is that just like in first grade, maybe, I think in first grade, I got to be really into Harry Potter because I picked up Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, but I remember that it was like forbidden for some reason, like I wasn't allowed to read it. And I couldn't remember, I always thought like it was because of the witchcraft. Now it is true that like in my town, there were issues with people believing that Harry Potter glorified devil worshipping. It was a whole thing. So like I definitely was like questioned a lot by even some of my classmates who were children, you know, and their parents and stuff, like, oh, your parents let you read that. But then now it's like such a huge part of our culture that I don't think anybody questions that anymore, and people in general enjoy the books and movies too. Anyway, my mom told me that I was told in first grade that I couldn't read the book because I couldn't understand it, which is insane. I mean, I graduated from Princeton and was an English major, and I just graduated from Columbia with a master's. So obviously I could understand it. But my mom said that this white boy who was really smart in my class was allowed to read the book. So they just didn't think I was smart enough to read it. So anyway, she said that she tried to like talk to a couple of teachers about it or whatever. And there was this whole thing, and basically nobody like wanted to fight for me to be able to read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And somehow like she pushed them, and then I was allowed to read it. And of course I can understand. I mean, like I could understand anything that he could understand, you know, because we were both intelligent. But anyway, whatever, racism, sexism, classism. I did remember too that throughout my school years, my aunt would mail me the Harry Potter books. And I just thought that she was always just doing that just because, but I didn't realize there was this added context of me being prohibited from reading the book just because I didn't understand it. So that makes it even more impactful that my aunt did that. Shout out to my aunt for that she bought these books for me, because this was a library book and they wouldn't let me get it from the school library. And so just her like using her resources to provide me with literacy, or with the opportunities to strengthen my literacy, was just like class A aunt stuff for real. Anyway, a huge Harry Potter fan, and so I have the illustrated version of the Sorcerer's Stone, and this was from my baby shower, which was my baby shower when I had my daughter. It was Harry Potter themed, and so it has all these like signatures. It's like basically a guest book, and then there are signatures in the back too, so it's a really important memory for me. But I try to reread this book every year, just because like it's so important to me, even though the protagonist is a white boy. You know, there are a lot of really good memories I have attached to the Harry Potter books throughout the years, especially like in times where it felt like things were chaotic and stuff like that. You know, I have really fond memories of the books and the movies, so I never pass up the opportunity to buy the illustrated versions, which gets me to my next point. I found the illustrated versions of Harry Potter in Target. They were already like 20% off. And then you could take an extra 30% off just because they were trying to get rid of everything before the new year. And so typically, like online, you know, I'll find them in there. I mean, however much they are, what, like $50, $60 or something like that. And in store, each of these books was like $20. So of course I got all three. I got The Chamber of Secrets, which I'm a quarter of the way through reading right now, and I have the audiobook with it. Oh gosh, talking about these books just makes me so emotional. Like, Harry Potter is just a huge part of my life. I have so much merch and the books, and it doesn't matter how many times I reread these books or how many times I rewatch the movies. It feels like it's the first time. I mean, these are my favorite children's books of all time, and they just have grown with me. And now, well, I know I'm getting emotional because now my kids can read it with me and they love it. I mean, my daughter, she's just 3, so I wasn't trying to introduce her to the Harry Potter movies yet, but she's really into them. I mean, she likes spooky things anyway. She was more close to Halloween, so I guess that's why. But she loves like kind of spooky things anyway, and magical things and stuff like that. She's super imaginative, and so anyway, we've watched the first 5 Harry Potter. She's just like is into them, and I keep thinking this next one's because you know they get darker over time. Like, this next one's gonna be too scary for her, but she loves them every time. So next time we're gonna finish watching Order of the Phoenix and then move on from there. But now I'm able to read these with both my kids, and they like to hear me read, and they like to see the pictures and everything like that. So it's really good for me and my mental health, these illustrated versions, especially because they get used so much in the house. But these illustrations, y'all, this is where I am right now when he's in I can't remember what store he's in, but after he uses the flu powder in the Chamber of Secrets, and then he gets off at the wrong stop or whatever. But these illustrations just get so beautiful. So beautiful. Look at that. Just amazing. And the guy who illustrated these, Jim Kay, is also the guy who illustrated A Monster Calls, maybe? That's a really good book. A student recommended it to me my first year teaching, and I loved it. I love that book. By Patrick Ness. I would definitely recommend reading it. But I also got The Prisoner of Azkaban, which a lot of people say is their favorite Harry Potter book, and I don't know what my favorite Harry Potter book is yet, but I'm gonna reread The Prisoner of Azkaban just because before COVID shut everything down, I was working on a curriculum guide for it, a unit plan, if you will. So this just looks so good. And then I got The Goblet of Fire, which actually might be my favorite movie, I think The Goblet of Fire and The Order of the Phoenix are neck and neck for me for movies, but yeah, I'm really excited to see the illustrations in this one because there's so many crazy things that happen in The Goblet of Fire. This is gonna be pretty. Like, look at this, how dark. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, and then now we're talking about children's books. Gosh, I bought so many books. These are children's books that I got for my kids. They don't even need any more books, honestly. They have like, gosh, probably 100 books back there in my daughter's room, and then they have like probably 25 books hanging out in the car, and maybe even more in like luggage and storage. I mean, I really need to get rid of some, I really do, but I have some new ones that I got because I just can't help it. Okay, it makes me happy. Book buying makes me happy. One day it is my dream to have a large house, maybe outside of DC or in Texas. 3 rooms that are non-negotiable for me. A playroom for my kids, so that they can keep their real room clean. And I don't have to, because right now my daughter's room is a playroom at the same time, and it's just too much for me. So I want them to have their own playroom. It'll have chalkboard walls and whiteboard tables, and they can just like go crazy in there with creativity and play and movie nights and stuff like that. Second thing is I have to have a home gym because I don't like people enough to go to the real gym. And in case we have another pandemic, I want to be able to work out at home without just like, you know, your average, you know, YouTube video, no equipment, Mach workouts. I want to have, you know, something interesting. And then the third thing is a library. And the library can double as my office. I don't care. Like if we have another room, we make that much money, we can have a separate office. But a library is non-negotiable for me. And I wanted to have like the ladder where you can, you know, slide down and get the books from the top. And I don't have to call my husband every time I need to get something from the top shelf. And I wanted to have like cozy chairs and lamps and stuff like that, and beautiful artwork on the walls. And I also wanted to have curated lists and everything, so when people come into my library, they'll get some inspiration for what to read. And then I want all the books to have, you know, our family crest like stamped into it, so that, and then like a borrowing system with the labels in the front of the book and everything, so that whenever somebody comes to borrow a book, we check it out and all that good stuff. Yeah, that just makes me happy to think about. That's a dream of mine. So maybe one day YouTube will see my come up in my library. But anyway, I got these children's books for them. I got this one, The Joys of Being a Little Black Boy, for my son. Obviously, because we had a daughter for 3 years before we got him, it's mostly books about girls back there. But I didn't go crazy and buy a bunch of boy books yet or anything like that, because I feel like boys and girls should read books about girls as well. Like my daughter has these books about Michelle Obama and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I believe that my son should also read those books too. It's important. Likewise, like she'll read books like this, you know, and maybe they can read them to each other. But I actually have not read this one to him yet, because I mean, I started it off and then he didn't seem to be super into it, which I know he's a little baby. How's he into anything? But he likes a couple of the other ones. Like he likes this devotional book, this kid devotional book that I read to him called Give Me Grace. He loves that. And then he loves Dr. Seuss's Fox and Socks, I guess because it rhymes and it's like funny and a bunch of nonsense. So I've been reading those a lot, but once he's into this, I'll have this for him to read, so he has something where he feels like he's represented. And then I have this other book called A Little Spot Stays Home, a story about viruses and safe distancing, because I thought, I don't care how much they disregard safety measures and stuff like that. At the end of the day, this whole pandemic is a good opportunity to do my best to raise good, responsible, selfless citizens, so that maybe, you know, if they deal with a situation like this in the future, it'll already be, you know, these kind of words will already be in their lexicon. Social distancing, safety, others, virus, that kind of stuff. And maybe, you know, this will help them to understand how being safe is respectful of other people and shows kindness towards others. You can only hope. I mean, you do your best as a parent, but I got this for that reason, to help me explain that stuff. And then I got this other book, speaking of lessons, called I Said No, Kid to Kid Guide to Keeping Private Parts Private. So I thought this was important because she was starting in-person school this winter. She can't really understand everything about it, and it's super wordy too, you see. But it's never too early to start introducing this stuff. And plus this gives you an easy way to kind of talk about this as well. It has the real definitions of the anatomical parts and the real terminology for it, which is important too, because I know that we tend to use like kind of silly words at home when we talk about this stuff, just because it's silly, you know, like I say booty butt all the time, you know, but I don't want some stranger using the real terminology with her or something else, and she or either one of my kids not knowing what somebody's really asking them to do, and that is wrong. So I got this specifically because it has the real terminology in there and ways to talk about it and everything. And it's supposed to teach the kid to recognize their own limitations and be clear about those limitations to everybody else. And it's really good too because it talks about why little kids are different from babies, why babies can be white and have their diaper changed and stuff like that, but bigger kids shouldn't let anybody just like, you know, touch down there or change them or take them to the bathroom, any of that good stuff. So moving on. So I got 2 other books for my son to feel seen and represented. One is called Peter's Share. It's really good because it's about Peter getting adjusted to his younger sister, his baby sister. And he's jealous at first, and then once the parents allow him to help out, then he's more accepting of his younger sister. And I know the roles are kind of switched, but this is good because Langston will one day be able to enjoy it, but right now Piper can enjoy it since she's the older sibling, having to get used to her new baby brother. And then this one, which they both like too, and oh my god, I love the illustrations in this one. But this one is called Max and the Tagalong Moon, and it's really sweet. He visits his granddad and he misses him when it's time to leave, but his granddad tells him, just follow the moon and you know that the moon will always shine for you, or something like that. It has the most beautiful illustrations that remind me so much of home. Like on his way home, the drive. Let me just show you. Oh, I just love this book. Like this is them leaving the house. See, and this little like neighborhood here. It's just, oh, I just love it. And the illustrations make me think of whatever perspective I would have had like riding in the car when I was a kid. They go over this little bridge and it's kind of late at night and they pass by these cows and they go through this roundabout. I mean, even a drive I used to take with CJ all the time when we lived in South Alabama. There was this like little town that had these roundabouts and everything. Oh, I just love this book. And then here with the trees and the nature, it's just so different from New York City. But I love him, and look at his little shorts. He's so cute. But I just love this book. Piper loves it too, so it's good for her as well. Moving along, I got 2 other books for Piper and Langston too. One, Dear Little Leo. These are 2 that I got from the astrology section at the Lit Bar. Dear Little Leo and Dear Little Scorpio. It's really great because the setup, it describes like awesome traits about them, and then it describes a little bit of complexity about their character. Like this one says you can be a little bit bossy even though you're good at making friends, and this one says you can be a little bit stubborn, which I haven't seen that in Langston yet, but we're gonna see. And then at the end, it ends on a positive note. It's kind of like constructive feedback. It's positive, a little bit of complication, and then positive again. And then at the end it tells all of the birthdays and the astrological signs. So I love these 2. And then finally, gosh, I done talked so much my lip gloss done got dry. The Anti-Racist Baby. There is another book that goes with this one. Oh, and I can't remember what it is, but it's also for little kids that this author wrote. But anyway, I love this one, the way that it's like really clear and direct, and also the illustrations, of course. I thought it was really important for me to buy it too, because even though I obviously like already raised my kids to be accepting of everyone and everything, and like interested in everybody's cultures, and like defend themselves against racism as best that they can, if they can. I thought about, you know, how casual racism exists, like even in black families. You know, you have to fight anti-black attitudes in black families, and you also have to fight like racist attitudes towards other races other than white in black families as well. And I'm sure this is the same for other cultures, but I'm just talking about like my personal experiences. You know, sometimes like I hear my family members say, you know, we want justice for us, but then like, you know, at the dinner table or whatever, I'll hear them say crazy things sometimes about other cultures, and they don't even realize that they're doing it because this is like what our society has set everybody up to be. So anyway, it's important for me to have bought this book, Anti-Racist Baby, so that I can overcome even those attitudes as well. And then also I thought it would be helpful too with my teaching whenever I'm back in the classroom, you know, to kind of like give me some straightforward language on how to describe these issues and fighting them, because my general existence is trying to be anti-racist, you know, but explaining to other people why racism is bad, why we need to fight it actively, why it's not enough to just not engage in it, but you have to fight it actively as well, and defend people who can't defend themselves. That part is hard for me because from my perspective it's like you're a trash human being if you don't do that, so we have to do it. But that's not a good way of describing it. So anyway, you've seen, gosh, all these books, so many books. I am going to try my absolute best to maintain my book lover's journal, keep up with my reviews on all these things, and then share them with you. But thank you so much for sitting here or wherever you are and listening to me talk about all these books before I even start reading them. Check back in. I'm gonna have some read with me videos uploaded and stuff like that, and more bookish vlogs hopefully in the future, and more book hauls also hopefully in the future, because today was my birthday, so I already plan to go back to the store and get some more books. And also check me out on TikTok where my name is @TheNotoriousRDB. So I'll link below where I got my mug and my shirt, and then my favorite bookstore, the Lit Bar. And other than that, see everybody next time. Bye.